Hey guys, so good evening actually. It's about 9:30 at night and it is Friday. It is Good Friday, and I hope everyone is having a good Friday. That's a little monk humor there. So anyway, guys, so tonight I've got a tarot card reading and I'm going to do something really special. Now, you guys don't really see me do this too often on this channel, but tonight I have had a very special request, and it's from someone that has requested that I give them a 10 card Celtic cross reading. This is a very old reading. It's one that I don't do very often. It's 10 cards. Normally, I can get most everything from I don't really have to normally take it to the top level here of a 10 card reading. 10 card readings, they really do give us they do take us through a person's situation. Sometimes they can become very emotional situations. Like oftentimes when a 10 card reading is done, someone really has something that they need definite answers to, and they need to find the truth and answers and solutions and so on. It can also be kind of painful sometimes doing these readings, because the person that's getting the reading sometimes is going through a lot, and they may be somewhat emotional on some level, or the reading itself can bring out those emotions because of how I'm trying to think of a good word for it, maybe intense that these types of readings can be. That's one of the reasons why you don't see me do them too often, because most of the readings that people ask for can normally be handled without, advancing the readings to this type of level. So, what I'm doing right now is I've been doing this for a little bit now, is I've been shuffling these cards to get all the old energy off of them. I want to start with fresh energy 100% when I do these tarot card readings. And so that's one of the reasons why I am very, very, adamant about getting them shaken up very good, and just doing a really nice job with that. The first time that I actually shuffle the cards, it's normally a little bit longer, and I just, I take a little bit of time just to talk things out, and it also helps me just to kind of get in the zone. When I mean the zone, it's more of like almost like a hypnotized state, and I kind of get into almost like a trance-like state. And that's when my subconscious mind, unconscious, hypnotic mind, other mind, female mind, whatever you want to call it, tends to open up. And when that opens up and all, it's just like information and things just come through. I mean, it's been this way my whole life. It's interesting. It has its pros and cons. I won't kid you. Sometimes when I get into these states, they sometimes happen very naturally for me. And then my focus. In Sanskrit, we call focus dhyanam. Dhyanam is like attention, giving attention to something or focus. Sometimes mine is very lacking. Sometimes we need focus, and it's very important sometimes to have focus. So I'm sometimes at a disadvantage in that particular regard because of the nature of just the way my mind is structured, or, this gift comes at me. I do consider it a gift. So that's why sometimes when I'm giving readings, you might hear me pause a little bit or just kind of almost zone out a bit. It's because I'm actually in that trance-like state. And just shuffling the cards is a very hypnotizing act for me. It really just kind of trances me out. I'm, when it comes to these kind of things, I'm like a somnambulist. I'm out. And I think that's one of the reasons why I get so much information just very, unconsciously, that just kind of seeps in, and I can connect with people at really the soul level. And I just, I think it's just a deep connection with God. And after doing so much sadhana, and we do japa and chanting and things every morning, and that, as monks, a lot of that builds on top of that. You do get a lot of spiritual gifts, I suppose, through your spiritual practices. And that also aids and helps me to be able to help people in other ways as well. Like, for example, this particular service of doing the readings. Okay, so we've really shuffled these cards up pretty good. I'm feeling a little trancy. I don't know about you guys, but let's go ahead and focus in on the actual reading. Now, so for this and all, I'm focusing on the person's name. I'm just using their first initial K because, like I said, these readings can be a little bit emotional. I do respect people's privacy and their right to it. And these can be very personal, but at the same time, I feel like sharing information with people lets other people get answers too, kind of indirectly. Somebody may be watching this YouTube video and they might be, just, going through something, and this could give them some answers or some solutions kind of indirectly as well. So I think there's benefit in there. And I think the pros far outweigh the cons for that. So I'm just going to now turn my attention, my focus, if I can call it that, to K. And this is going to be a general reading, and we're going to find out just what the cards will tell us about everything. Okay, so I'm going to do this one at a time. A lot of times I'll lay out all the cards, but because we have 10 of these cards, and honestly, I just don't have a whole lot of space here to be able to do 10 cards without them kind of getting sloshed around a little bit. I'm going to give you guys sort of the understanding of the reading as I go along as well. So maybe that would be a little bit more helpful to kind of take you along this journey. And that's what we're about to do, guys, is we're about to embark on a little bit of a journey here. And so the very first part of this journey is we're going to start with a question, or we're going to start with a situation, or we're going to look at something, what the circumstances are, where things are at right now. So this is the very first card. And just like in any kind of tarot card reading or any kind of situation in our life, we always start with that first step to get us on the next leg of the journey until we can find out and get the answers and the solutions and things like that we need. So right now we're going to start with the first step. So the very first card that we have, this is a very interesting card. It is the Five of Swords. Excuse me. Now this card here represents Kay. This is representing her right now. This is, in this reading, this is her along the journey. So we're starting here. 5 is all about, sometimes it's upheaval, but sometimes more or less it's about changing situation. This is the winning at any cost. This is about like really putting in the energy and the effort and coming out, coming out on top in terms of, what can be written down in the history books. But sometimes we lose when we win, and that's kind of where the situation is. It's like we put in the energy, we put in the effort, we do all of these things, and yet we still just don't feel like we've really succeeded, or we've really, been able to come across, or expand ourselves fully. And there's that sense of almost regret, or that sense of like, why doesn't this feel as good as I thought it should feel? Like, why have I gotten to this place in my life and I'm not satisfied? So lack of satisfaction kind of goes along with this card. It's also about change. Things are changing. Excuse me. So that is our starting point. Now, twos, like when we think of twos, we always think of like relationships, or we think of pairs, balance, polarity, duality, these kind of things that kind of go along with the two. So the next card that we're going to talk about is that kind of an energy that kind of comes through. So the this card that I'm about to reveal here is kind of in that vein. This is normally where we start to see where problems start to arise. And we have the 10 of Pentacles. So this is sort of what crosses us. Now the 10 of Pentacles is a pretty good card. It's an ending card though. So when we're thinking about endings, we're thinking about, well, there's something about to happen. This card here is a fulfillment card. Like when it comes to like material prosperity, growth, and wellness, and all these kind of things, this is kind of like where we've come into some abundance. We've kind of mastered the art of groundedness in a lot of ways, and we have figured out practically how to settle ourselves down, how to kind of almost create like a legacy for ourselves, that we can leave for other people and to kind of continue on. And it's sort of like we're kind of rounding out one chapter. Now, this is interesting because we started with the 5, which is really that energy card about change happening, new things, completing things, and then maybe not exactly feeling so great about it, or not as fulfilled or as satisfied as what we had assumed that we would feel. There's other things that come about maybe that we weren't quite aware of before when we start along this journey in the first place. And so now the journey is, this is, the next stage is that something is coming. We've gotten to a good place, but now things are starting to leave us and new things are going to be coming down the line. So that's what crosses us. Like in the Celtic cross, this is like the cross section of things. This is like where the obstacles and things start to lie. Now, the next card is a 3 card. A 3 is really a narrative card. I always think of it as a story card in a lot of ways. This particular placement with the Celtic cross is really kind of, I like to look at it as really kind of what's known, what's out there in front of us, what's very consciously visible. These are things that we're aware of, and these are the things that, might be in our mind, and they could actually be hindrances or they could be helpful. So it really just kind of, think of them more like influences, if you want, if you will. So we have the Nightmare card, as I call it, and this is the 9 of Swords. So oftentimes when this card comes up, it's because we feel like we've had a bad dream or bad thoughts or bad ideas. We're uncertain. There's things happening. And this is what's in our conscious reality. This is the things that we're seeing played out in front of us at this moment in time. And, it's like, oh my goodness, like I'm having like heart palpitations. I'm having like trepidation here. I'm like concerned. I'm worried, I thought I had things figured out. Everything was good. And now there's this new dimension happening. There's all these things like what's going to be the next focus? How can I get peace of mind here? How can I bring more things about? And then we get this as kind of our conscious awareness card. This is the, if you want to look at it as sort of this, just very conscious type part of ourselves. These are kind of what's influencing our thinking and our mindset. And guys, remember, this is a nightmare. It doesn't mean it's true. At the 9 of Swords, it's just we have so much thinking, so many thoughts. The mind is playing the tricks on us. Every neural pathway that's going on is like feeling a sense of entrapment sometimes. We're feeling a sense of like insecurity, and that things could, the walls could come crumbling down at any moment. The house of cards could fall over, and so that's, we're feeling kind of like, maybe our sense of safety and security could at some point leave us even. And because of that influence, that conscious influence, we tend to think about, how do I protect myself? What can I do? These are the kind of things that are naturally coming about at this stage of the journey. So we're 3 steps into the journey, and we're having this story, these narratives, these ideas and things playing on our mind, weighing us down. What is really the next step? Well, let's look at what's kind of the underlying things. And this is considered more like the root card in the Celtic cross. And the root card is really deeply, seriously, just like the other card was more kind of like what we see, kind of what's in front of us, like what are we consciously aware of? The next card here, this root card, is sort of like what's below the surface. It's kind of like, okay, what don't I know? What haven't I considered? What other things do I need to take into account? What other things are going to kind of play out here? What are the unconscious factors? That's what we're about to find out. So we have more coins. We had our number 2 coin was really where, we're on top of the world as far as our finances and our security blanket and everything like that goes. Then we have these thoughts about like, oh goodness, what's the next chapter? Now we have the unconscious. These things we're not really aware of. This is the giving card. This is the one of charity. It's the give and the take. And both people are very happy here. The person doing the giving, they're weighing their things out. Like they're weighing how much money they're giving. They're being fair and justified. Remember, the scale in the tarot is about balance. It's about fairness. It's about the law, legalities, doing the right thing. And in this way, this is like we've amassed and gotten some knowledge and information. We've created a good future for ourselves. Now it's about, giving back, helping other people. And what's the best way to do that and figuring these kind of things out. That's our unconscious state of being here. This is the very hypnotizing kind of, if you want to look at this, unfortunately, as your sun card, because it's kind of in the sun placement of the consciousness of things, like you're aware of these things. This would be about the things that you're really not aware of. This is the stuff that happens when the moon comes out, So this is a very hypnotizing moon energy that we're getting here. kind of more of the female energy. This is more of your masculine energy or your male kind of energy. Remember, the cards are not sexist or anything. This is just, we're looking at polarity here. We're looking at contrast. That's kind of giving you the contrast here. We're going from one extreme completely to the other in these placements. So we've covered kind of the conscious, we've covered the unconscious. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the near past, and then we're going to talk about the near future. But the near past comes first. This is the next placement in the card. And in the near past, we have this card that comes and shines for us. And this is the Knight of Swords. This is about fast thoughts happening. That's why you are aware of what's going on as far as, having these, kind of questioning thoughts or, ideas of like, maybe you've just fell into like a depression a little bit, or like maybe when things are going so good, it's just like, they kind of become like your vice in a sense, and this is the things that maybe are like, there's got to be more to life than what, and it's like, it's almost very philosophical kind of the thinking in that, or it's wondering, well, what is the true purpose of all of this? Okay, so I've done this, now what? Where do I go from here? And that is your dilemma, that's kind of your conscious card. That's what's in front of you. That's what you know so well. But we all already found that this card here is kind of the unconscious factors. These are the things. Very giving person, got a good heart. These kind of things, have gotten you where you probably are, and they probably will continue to carry you further. So those are the things that you need to be aware of. Don't worry so much about this card. This conscious, what you know is what you know. It's good to know what you know, even if it's kind of the things that haunt you, those kind of things. You can let that stuff go a little bit because you have other cards. And this one here is more of the things that you're not aware of. So just be aware that your goodness and your kindness and your good heart, those good actions that you perform, whether or not somebody's acknowledging them or not, you do them from the heart, that good space, that good place. Those are the things that are really have gotten you where you're at. Those are the things that you're not aware of that is a good quality or good trait within you. Those are the things that will carry you through even the nightmare, or the dark night of the soul, or dark mind of the mole, whatever you want to call it, guys. There's so many different phrases for that, like going down the rabbit's hole. Sometimes we go down the rabbit's hole, but it's to learn things. And then the things we learn is kind of like what we're really made of, or, the things that are kind of, things that have gotten us in good places before. And that's what we find with the moon placement here. The Knight of Swords, like I said, those is the near past, and that's where this is coming about from. This is this energy that's coming. It's swift, it's fast, it's relentless. It doesn't take no for an answer, and it's those thoughts. You can't turn them off. They're just. Let's look at the near future now. We've talked about this near past card. This past card is probably just in the very recent. It could be the last month or two or something out. It's not. It's very, very quick. I'm picking this energy up. It's very, very fast. So these are things are just kind of like, that's where the heart palpitations maybe started stemming from. You're like, I can't turn this thing off. Let's look at, okay, near future, we have the Ace of Swords. Swords, again, are about thoughts, but they're new thoughts, new things coming, new energy. Look at this. It's the proverbial hand here. The crown, the victory crown, victory, positive things are coming your way more. Those thoughts, they're going to shift. And that shift is going to happen probably in the next month or two out, possibly 3 months out. You're going to see kind of a complete shift or a complete movement in terms of the way that your thinking and your mindset and all of that. This will start to dissipate a lot of this uncertainty, in that more of this will start to come about. This thinking and stuff that's happened onto you so fast. I mean, it's almost like it's almost comparable to sort of like a tornado coming through a small town or something and hitting, and everyone knows it's coming, and it just happens like that, and you have no control over it. And it's like, what's going to happen? Where do I go? Where do I seek shelter? It's that kind of mentality. It's that kind of energy that's happening there, but it's all in the mind. Where we start to shift at is this Ace of Swords. It's new energy. Tornadoes past. It's clearing the way for new things, new ideas, new energy, things of like that are coming about. And like I said, that's in the next couple of months, probably even in the next month, probably moving forward from this point on, we're kind of seeing that. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit of ground here already. So you see like why like doing these readings, these 10 card spreads can be very, very, kind of almost like kind of intense, So now we get into the seven. Seven is about like that introversion, and that it's kind of like we seek solace in that. Seven's kind of our attitude card about this whole situation, or life in general, or our placement, our predicament, our situation, our, this overall general reading. And this Ace of Pentacles is right here. Ace is also about new money and new ideas coming in, new groundedness, new things are grounding us. So where that uncertainty and things like that in the mind have come about, even though you've been in a good, solid situation, this is going to reassure you and bring more things. And you're going to learn some things also with this. And this is your attitude about things, moving forward and in this place is that new energy and new things are going to start to happen. Guys, give me just one moment. I got just a quick little interruption here. Not even going to turn this off. I'll be right back. Please, one moment. Yeah. Sorry for that interruption. So that is our seven card. Seven is about sometimes, we have to go inside ourselves. That's what this is about. This is that attitude. This is the stuff that's within us. It's kind of like our rest and renewal kind of card. If you want to think about it kind of like that, it's the kind of things that we're a little bit aware of, but we need to kind of more understand or more get out of things. So that's really that Ace of Pentacles. So now that we kind of have this kind of our attitude card, our understanding about things, we figure this part out. The next thing we want to know is a little bit about our environment. So the next card is really the environment card. This is where things start to get interesting, because this tells us a little bit more about like our location and kind of like our understanding or what we're desiring and these kind of things. So where we're at as far as that goes is this. We're at the Four of Cups. Cups are, they can be very hypnotizing in terms of emotion and, our feelings and, the things that are deep within us, our inner psychology, all these kind of things can really play out. Four is also very stabilizing. So this is about stabilizing some of that energy. If you look at this, it's sort of like saying no to the things that don't really work for us because we're satisfied with what we've got. Other times when this card comes up in certain readings, it means completely the exact opposite. It's where we've just kind of become bored with things. And so anything new offered to us, we just kind of, whatever. I'm just more of the same. I'm just kind of done with everything. And so you see that kind of played out on this person. It's sort of like looking for something new to come along, but you're very stable in terms of your emotional. You're not being, pushed in one way or pushed in another way. There's not a lot of emotional influence really happening so much. And that's where the environment is right now. It's like there's not a lot of things pushing you in one direction, pushing you in another direction, that kind of thing. And that can be good, but then it can also have that kind of stagnating kind of like, I'm over this already. I would just like a little bit of excitement or a little something new to come about. But, at the same time, I'm good. I'm satisfied. I'm feeling this, but, what else? So that's the environment. Now, we look at a little bit deeper into our kind of our fears, but we also look at our hopes. We look at what we're kind of trying to get out of life, or, kind of the underlying things that are really there for us. And that's this next card and all. This is the 9 card, and it's kind of like our, it's kind of like I almost like to think of this as sort of like our, it's like our hopes and our fears kind of meshed into one. You get a lot of advice from this particular card, though, most of the time. So, and here we are. We have more emotion. So, wow, what a journey this has been. We've seen the swords, and we've seen the pentacles, and we've also seen now the cups start to kind of move on. So we're kind of going and transitioning from that thinking, that stability, to thinking, overthinking, calming down on the thoughts, new thoughts happening, all the way over to where we're at, kind of like in terms of our, our attitude about things is like we're looking for something new, but then kind of like the environment right now is stability and everything's good. So, give it or leave it or take it is kind of what the environment is saying. And then our hopes and our fears and everything like that is this card right here. It's the 8 of Cups. Now, 8 is interesting in this placement because we have some more of that stability that comes with the Queen cards. We have that 8, which is that grounded Capricornian kind of energy. We have the Cups here, which is the emotions and things, and then just kind of walking away and just, we have the sun and moon there and stuff like that, kind of at our side, and we're just kind of going kind of catty corner from that, and then this person is just kind of like, taking the journey, and this is kind of like our hopes, and this is like something new coming about and that kind of thing. The advice, that we see here is like, as far as our situation goes, is that you got to take a little bit of time to wait things out. I know this is not what you want to hear, because that's not what the cards are really indicating that you want to hear. But kind of like what we're getting with this here, energy card, this here, it's almost like the advice that the cards are wanting to give you is that you're going to have to take a little bit of action. That, yeah, you've got the stability and everything in your life, but you need to wait a little bit, but then you need to start to take these steps. Don't throw everything away, but just kind of take these steps kind of gradually. And you're going to start to see that when you start down this pathway of this new stuff happening in your life, you're not going to really have to worry so much, because you're going to be more mentally prepared than not. Right now, the things that you're aware of and things, it's the unknown that frightens you more than anything. But the reality is that what you have gleaned and learned and mastered and accomplished and succeeded in, you don't have to just gravitate and hold on to that. That's great that it's there, and it's there for you. But you can also transition and do some new things as well and be very successful as well with that. And that's what this card is saying. You may have to leave some of the past behind, some of the old relationships and things in the past, and just let it kind of like go, but not like abandon it altogether. It just means that you're transitioning or moving into a new direction, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's kind of the advice that the tarot is really kind of giving you here, So it's also hopefully it hopefully satisfies some of the obstacles that maybe mentally were kind of confounding you and giving you a little bit of hope or a little bit of easement. Let's talk about the outcome. This is the last card. This is a 10 card in this spread. And this, assuming you take the advice of the cards, and especially like this card, is like making those steps in that new direction, but taking that goodness and that heart and that willingness of giving and turning things over to people before, is this card right here. This is the victory card. With this card, we have the 6. 6 is all about the practical and the stable. This is about your victory. And it's a very conscious. This is saying right now that, come on, Fancy. Come on. Up. Guys, I don't know if it's every tarot reader in the world or gypsy or fortune teller or whatever, but what is it about cats? And I'm a monk and we don't really even do that, but this is a card that we have right here. Just give me just one moment. Let me shut the door here. Sorry for that interruption, guys. Kitty cats, gotta love them. So here we go. So this is our 6 of Wands. This card here is really about the, we're going to triumph. This is also sometimes about like small victories. You're going to see some small victories start to happen. And as those victories start to unfold themselves and all, that's ultimately what's going to happen. You're going to start to see more success. So how do we unravel this story so that it makes complete sense to us, so that we can take initiative and take the direction of the cards and really get out there and make the most of this reading? Good question. And the answer to that question is very simple. Understand where our situation is. Here we are in a situation where we've gotten to a level of success in our life, a level of comfort, a level of stability, to where, we're in a position that we can actually start to like give some of that love back, give some of those resources back, teach other people, like, okay, transition it over. Been there, done that though, right? It's time for a new journey. It's time for something new in our life. And that's the next step. But we have a lot of conflicting thoughts and ideas in this mind of ours, right? That's the power of the mind, For one who has conquered the mind, though, the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, the mind will be the greatest enemy. That's the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 6. This is kind of where this is. This is what's over us right now. That's going to pass. When it passes, new thoughts, new ideas, new innovative thoughts, all these kind of things are going to happen. Bank on this happening sooner rather than later. We're not going to talk about 6 or 7 months out here. We're talking the next month, 2, 3 tops. This is where you're going to be at. And as that new thing starts to happen and unfold and all, just remember the nature of who you are. It's the things that are really the things that other people see in you, but maybe you don't necessarily in yourself. That's that giving nature, that heart, your willingness to help humanity. You're not a selfish person. Those kind of qualities, they're going to very well take care of you moving out into the future. As we position ourselves moving forward and all, we're going to get to a place where, yeah, we're going to have to leave some of the old journey behind, some of the known and familiar behind, but that's going to do you some real good because it's always there. Look, these cups, these relationships, they're not going anywhere. There's a lot of these around. You don't see these cups falling over. They're even on top of each other. So it's relationships levels deep, right? We get to the victories. That's the taking action in small measured ways to get to the next rung of the journey. Where's that journey going to be? Well, this card will tell you. It's not going to tell you right now, though. You're going to have to wait a little bit of time, the next month or two. Those ideas and things are going to happen. It's going to give you direction. It's going to give you focus. And it's going to ultimately be the next chapter. Wow. What a reading. You never know what you're going to get in the tarot card readings. Did we get any heavy major arcana cards in this? Not really. Most of what we got here was just kind of a lot of these practical things. What is really the underlying thing going on right now? It's that mind stuff that's going on. Those swords, swords are very conflicting. They're about conflict, and it's that kind of an energy. We have some of the wands in there, very few wands actually, but we did have that last wand card, which was our victory card. And that wand is about the action. So you're going to see the fruits of your actions in small measured successes, victory. And then from that point on, you're going to continue on. So you'll start to see that measured success start to happen, but you're going to have to it'll take a little bit of while. New ideas take a little while before they start to see results. Keep that in mind. You might have forgotten that because, hey, you're already at the 10 right now. You're already at the 10 right now in your reading as far as where you're at right now. That 10 of Pentacles, you're that 10 of groundedness. That's where you're at right now. Remember, starting new things, there's going to be those ebbs and flows, right? And you're going to start to see some of that change and some of those things happen. But stick with who you are, stick your ground. Everything's going to be really good for you. So anyways, I hope that this tarot card reading has been a good experience for you. Sometimes these particular readings can be a very, they can be very deep, I guess is a good way of putting it. So you have to be we have to be a little bit sensitive. I'm a little bit sensitive to doing them because I never know what's going to come about from the cards or from the readings. They really take us down a lot of different avenues, a lot of different things. But it's a good reading. But just kind of heed the messages of what you need to do as far as like that advice that I was telling you. And that's that sometimes we have to literally make those steps happen. And sometimes when we're so connected to our present moment and the things that we've done, that we've taken so much time and energy and put so much work into, it's a little bit hard to kind of leave that behind to venture off into a new direction. It can be a little scary, a little jarring, in fact. The key to that, though, is to do it one step at a time. What is that whole, was it Lao Tzu or, the Art of War, something, how do you take a journey of 10 million miles or something like that? You do it one step at a time, something like that. That's kind of the way that this happens, a little bit at a time. You're not throwing everything out at once, but you're transitioning, and you're making those transitions so slowly that by the time you get to that new path, that new journey, the old path that you're kind of leaving behind is just going to be kind of like really faded out into the distant past, and it's not going to be as meaningful or as connected or as emotionally connected for you as what this new journey is becoming. So keep that in mind. But great reading. Really love this reading. I think it's going to be really good for you, really positive. If you have any questions or anything, I'm me. I'm always here for you guys. Much love and many blessings, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Indirect Knowledge. Oh, and just as an aside here, if you guys want to help out, we've come into some financial distress a little bit here at the ashram. I've got to get a roof. We had like 50, 60 mile an hour winds the last couple of days, and so part of our building is actually blown off. And so I know that sounds a little crazy, but maybe I'll take some photos and share them with you guys. But any love, any support or something, tips, whatever you guys want to do, super great. Us, it's not about the money or anything like that, but we rely on God for all of that. But, if you can help or want to help, you are more than welcome to. Just go to indirectknowledge.com. That's sort of our catch-all site for everything that we do. We have courses on there, so many different things. And if you want to get a course or something like that, that helps us out. And hopefully that helps you out too. There's so many different things. In fact, I've got my Easy Tarot course that some of you guys had encouraged me to put out. I'm really happy with the way the course turned out. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from people that have taken the course. People say that it's amazing value and different things like that. I'm not going to say that that's the way it is because, I have to have a little bit of humility here. But if you really want to take the course or whatever and give some feedback too, I would be very grateful for that. But anyways, much love and many blessings to you all. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Indirect Knowledge. Pray bold.